Hello everyone. So I am testing out a new um, tripod, and so I wanted to do kind of a little mini deep dive on these. Just a couple weeks ago I showed you this one. This is the new Playmates phaser, original series phaser. And I recently just acquired this. I acquired it for a very specific reason. But since I now have the original Playmates phaser, which is what this is, I thought that I would do a comprehensive comparison of the two, because some people rightfully and understandably believe that the new one is just a rehash of the original, and that, you know, it's the same mold. It is definitely a different mold, and it's very much inspired by the original, but it's actually more accurate in some respects. So, yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so on this one, on the original Playmates, you'll notice it has kind of a thick mid plate here on the P1, whereas on the Playmates, the new Playmates, they're both Playmates, it has a thinner one which sticks out, and that is more accurate to how they looked on the actual show. You'll also notice here this edge is kind of rounded right here, just on the edges, which looks like when someone made the original mold they did a little too much sanding. But the new one, it's squared off, probably because it was made in a computer. And then the next difference here, you'll notice the space between the emitter and the body of the P2 is longer than on the new one. The paint is also different. Let me go through the shape changes first, and then we'll talk about molding and painting and whatnot. And of course, here are the handles, and this is the most obvious difference between the two. The new Playmates is more accurate to the actual prop, and this is the original. Kind of a segmented thing. And here's a subtle difference that some may not be aware of. So you have this line here, okay? It's very pronounced and it's very strong, and it's where your hand, your thumb kind of curves in. You notice that it's just one continuous line here, okay? On the new Playmates, it's not as sharp, and it terminates here, and then the line goes up again, and it's more rounded overall. Kind of a little shallower, but yeah, it breaks that line, and I personally don't care for that, but given that this is a $25 toy, it's fine. But I do like the look of this, and the feel of it is a little nicer. Now we move to the back of the phaser. You'll notice how blunt this is, and on the new one, it's much more rounded. Also, there are more There are more ribs here than there are on the new one. And they're overall more angular. And, oh, and this does work. Can't really see it though. I was surprised when I bought this. I didn't think it would work, because none of the Playmates phasers I still have, none of them that I have had worked after a while. But and you can change the setting. That was the first setting, and here's the second. It's just a slightly lower sound, but you'll notice this one, the primary difference is that the new Playmates phaser has a light in there, which isn't accurate to the TV show, but I do like it. It adds a nice little function that the original one rightfully didn't have. Moving to the other side of the phaser, it's overall the same. Battery compartment is different. This just slides down. Whereas this one, you know, it has a screw, and this one has a tendency when you're handling it to slip off. And I'll talk more about that in a minute, why I bought this specific version. So you'll notice here there's 1, 2, 3, 4 screw holes. And this is the one that everybody's talking about. This is the difference between that everybody's talking about. So 4 on the original Playmates. Here's the new one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm not counting this one because it's for the battery cover. So there are double the amount of screw holes on the new one than there are the original. And that's really not fun. And on this one they have, on the new one, they have the on, off, and demo right here over the detail. I get, you know, it's not for a collector like me, it's for people who just want to have fun. And I have had fun with it. The other change you'll notice is difference in the triggers. The new one is very much longer, and it goes back. Just turn it off real quick. This one goes back, and this one, like the original prop, goes in. Was that stun or kill? I don't know. Both of them are missing the window in the front, but that's fine. Never made much sense that there was a window there anyway, but whatever. And there are subtle differences between the two emitters. And the actual clear emitter piece on the new one, you'll notice, has a bubble in it, and it's overall more rounded. Whereas the original one, no bubbles, very clear, and it's more angular. And overall, you notice the color is quite different. The original Playmates is more of a blue-gray, which to me is what it looks like on screen. It looks more blue-gray or brown, or kind of brownish gray. The new one is more of a kind of neutral, medium gray, something like that. And overall, the silver parts on the original are a kind of dull silver, whereas the silver on the new one is a brighter silver. And moving to the top here, the dials on both of the original one are thicker than on the new one. And the texture on the original phasers, what's called the extra crispy by those who love this phaser and like collecting replicas of it. This part here is called the extra crispy. This is just a series of cross hatches, but on this one, on the new one, it looks more like the actual prop, where it's a three-dimensional kind of diamond pattern. So, yeah, it's up to you which one you like better. The original one is slightly heavier, and for me personally, the feel of the original in the hand is a little better. It's a little stronger, a little easier to grab onto, whereas the new one, it's not as slick. You know, it's not as heavy duty. It's hard for me to get both in shot here, so I apologize for that. But there is a size difference. The new one is slightly shorter, appears to be slightly narrower. That's probably where the difference in feel comes from on the original one, the 1994 version. This one feels a little heftier in the hand, even though the actual props were smaller than the Playmates version, which is funny because Playmates would often make their replicas smaller than the actual ones. I just noticed there's some paint wear there. Oh well. So yeah, that's it for the comparison, I think. Of course, you know the difference in the... right, I turned it off. The difference in the sound and light features. One thing I'd like to do in the future is take the electronics from one of these and put them in one of these, so I can get the best of both worlds. You know, maybe someday I'll do that. This one, because it still works, I will just keep it original and not modify it at all. I'd buy another one to modify. So that's it for the comparison. Let's see why I bought this one. And then at the end I'll compare the packaging from the original and from the new one. Okay, so here's the phaser. Original 94 Playmates phaser. Why did I buy this? Well, these are going, the prices on them are going up on eBay all the time. They just keep growing and growing and growing. And, you know, I went so many years, I actually had an opportunity to salvage my old one. It didn't work, but this was years before I had any interest, because when the Diamond Select version came out, it was kind of like, well, what's the point of the Playmates one? It's so inaccurate. But then I discovered fan film, a Star Trek fan film called Starship Exeter. And I watched their first episode. They only made 2, famously. And I watched their first episode, The Savage Empire, and I I fell in love with it. It's actually one of my favorite fan films. There are plenty of technical issues. Their second version episode, the Tricerian intersection, was on every technical sense it was better, but I liked the first one more. But in that first fan film, they used the Playmates phasers, and because they made their fan film in '95, and didn't release it until 2002. Of course, that was before the Diamond Select, and this was the only phaser available. This was the most accurate mass-produced phaser available at that time. And a few years ago, I had, on my own, found that they were selling off their props, their props and their models that they'd made for their fan film, and they wanted more money for it than I could afford. If I could have afforded it, I would have bought the lot. But let me show you a picture of that, of the phasers here. So those were some of the props that they used, and they had, was it 5 phasers, I think? So, and you can see where they had taped the battery compartment of one of them, because it was such a pain in the ass. You know, when you're handling it, you can slide it off very easily. So, yeah. But that's why I got this one, because, you know, in that weird way, it's kind of a connection to it. You know, the same reason that I buy any of these phasers is that it's a connection to Star Trek. And the reason I buy any props, I buy props from other movies too, not just Star Trek. So, yeah, that was my reason for going and getting this, and I happened to, I paid more for this than I really wanted, of course, because the prices are going skyrocketing. For some reason, I mean, we have the new Playmates one just came out, so I don't know why the prices would be going crazy, but that's why I bought this one, and I'm glad I did. You know, it's kind of it's a piece of my childhood, and there are far fewer screw holes on this one. It has 2 speaker holes for some reason. It has the one up here, and it has the one just under here. But anyway, this was new in box. I mean, this thing, as far as I could tell, had never been displayed. Although it did smell like cigarette smoke, but the box that it came in did not. So either they replaced the box, or it was displayed in a smoky environment, but it doesn't have any telltale signs of it. It hasn't turned yellow or brown. It doesn't have any kind of residue on it, so I don't know. But yeah, it came with the original box, so let's check out the box. Now, this is the box from the original, and you'll notice right away there are some changes, differences here. Here's the box for the new one, and of course this is the American box for the new one. So you'll notice that the box art is it's basically the same. Hard for me to get it all in one shot, my arms aren't long enough, but it's the same box art. Difference is that it has a collector's series edition, and it's a numbered thing. Do they really make 161,000 of these things? I don't know. But here's the back of the box, and the difference here between the two backs of the boxes are the models themselves. You can see this is the original on the left, and this is the new one on the right. And you can tell it's got all the new features. You know, they just took a picture of the toy, and they replaced the advertisement for the communicator with just more pictures of the toys. And of course, the new one has the Q code. The original one just has your standard barcode. So, yeah. So there's the box art. So folks, I guess that's it for my comparison. I hope you found this interesting or useful or whatever. And You know, if you can't get an original, if it's just too much, you don't want to pay that much, you know, the new one does the job. Maybe, you know, if the screw holes really bother you that much, you know, and you don't care about lighting or sound functions, well, maybe the original might be kind of a fun thing to have. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye-bye.